can't even be compared to this. It's a completely different team, and they've been playing completely differently. Week 1, maybe not so much, but they've really started to bring things back. Last week was, or 2 weeks ago, was a impressive 7-0 performance from them. So I expect to see some remnants of that 7-0 performance, but Waverunners have also had a good bit of time to regroup. They've got all they need to have a good game on Chalet here. I mean, I'm feeling good about this one. It's Chalet. We don't get to see Chalet very often. You bring out this map, the casters are going to be happy, and that's definitely what we've got in front of us here. But let's take a look at our bans. We'll actually see what kind of Chalet we've got in front of us. Of course, the Nomad coming off the board early. Not too much of a surprise, but definitely not one of the more normal bans. Allows you to be a lot more free on that roam and keep that map control as a defender a little bit longer. Same goes for the Mira. That's another very heavy area and map control operator that is potent on a map like Chalet that neither of these teams are going to have to deal with here.
And last one's Valkyrie. All right, so all the bans pretty stock standard, especially for Chalet. I mean, these are standard bans for most maps in the pool, especially the aggressive maps. A lot of times that's where you'll see the Nomad ban. And if Nomad is banned on something like Consulate or Coast or Chalet, you do not want to leave the Valkyrie up. That's not a good idea. You are letting the defenders have way too much fun. So you got to dial them back a little bit, take some of that info off the board. It's going to be Master Bedroom up first for Waverunners. So before we get into the game, there's also something I would like to touch on. I have a mutual friend with most of the Aqualix guys named Ella at Els for Rels on Twitter, who is currently manifesting, quote unquote, a win for Aqualix as hard as she can. So if they win, it's not due to their skill, it's because of her mystical, Momo Jumbo or whatever that is. So hopefully the Aqualix guys can use that to their advantage. And already, Jenna, we have an interesting pick.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel.
Rethinking is on Finka, and we have an Ashe instead of an Iana. So we're missing a set of frag grenades that we usually see on this map because of that Iana pick. But we have Finka, I guess.
I'm a little bit worried, but I'm also...
Finka's got a Gone 6, doesn't she?
But I'm also kind of excited to see it, exactly. Pretty much every mildly useful or useless operator, Finka being one of those, got a Gone 6 when the Gone 6 came out during the update, right? So that makes her somewhat viable. No, you don't have the nades, and Yana has both the nades and the Gone 6, but you've got that stim ability, which can be handy if you're going to go for an all-out rush. I wasn't paying enough attention. Was the Finka 6 picked, or was that...
Yes.
It was. Okay,
it was
so
indeed.
There is that element of surprise that we could see here, because theoretically, Waverunners should have no idea exactly what they're dealing with. So maybe it's a rush, or maybe you just really like that LMG, because that's exactly what Finka is going to be bringing here. You just turn around an angle and just hold left click, and maybe you'll find a head eventually, kind of like the Alda from Maestro, who we unfortunately don't see much of very in the recent maps. We haven't seen a lot of Maestro play, instead relying on a bunch of different operators here, and at least in this case, one of those operators on the attacking side is already going to fall. Silent will also claim a kill now that Scams has been traded out, dropping both the Habana and the Finka out of the mix. Gasher will fall as well. A nice C4 from Vena, and already this round is off to a terrifying start. Kento, a good shot there onto Vena to bring things back, and now the Waverunners hold this advantage, but only a one-man advantage going into the second half of the round.
Oh, and Kento is going to get a third. Holy crap. Beautiful shots coming out from the Zofia. And what was a 5 versus 2 is now a 2 versus 2. But if Kento decides to vault through this window, he'll have to be wary of frost mats. He'll drone out and see that there is none, but no, he's caught on drone. Silent tags up his legs, but it's not enough to finish him off, and that's going to allow Kento to jump through the window, taking an aggressive stance inside a piano, waiting for Vladder to join him. They need to push together. They cannot risk taking these one-on-one engagements, and Vladder on the Ashe is a demon, but Silent, he just peeks around the black wall. Down goes the support of Vladder, and Vladder's just going to start trying to plant. He'll be able to stick it, but no, never mind. He gets off just in time, but he's able to catch the Aruni. A good shot from Vladder, looking for Silent. The pre-fire works. Vladder and Kento clutch up the 2v5. How do Waverunners allow that to happen? They just peek, and Kento and Vladder are just fed the kills, more than happy to land the heads, and Aqualix take round number 1.
Round number 1, huh? What a what a way to start Chalet. I mean, that is a statement from both of these teams that they are here to play their opponent, maybe not the map. I mean, we just saw aggression, extreme aggression from both the attacking and defensive side. Silent on the side of Waverunners was peeking every possible window that they came across, and Aqualyx was taking every fight that they possibly could. At the end of the day, it is going to work out for Aqualyx. Some great play from Kento and Vladder, the only players to find the scoreboard there for the attacking team. And on the defensive side, spreading the weight a little bit more evenly, but Silent doing the majority of the weight in round number 1. So definitely an interesting way to start this map. Not what I expected. And I got to admit, I wasn't expecting to see the same thing in round number 2. Based on the fact that we have the Finca yet again, I can only imagine that Aqualyx are going to continue a little bit of those shenanigans.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
Jammer deployed.
You think? Because they've got, right? All right, so now they're bringing the Iana. So they're bringing Iana, Zoph, Ashe. Do they use Finca as the flank watch? Because she doesn't necessarily... They don't necessarily need to be, or she doesn't necessarily need to be like with the team, right? So she can just be kind of like watching flank, you know, watching an angle, and then when someone calls for it, bam, boost. Shouldn't need to be anywhere near the push. So I wonder if that's how they're going to use their flank watch. You know, Vladder, Kento, Gasher, trio entry, and Gasher's got the nades, Discover on the hard support. And I mean, the only role that's left unfilled is that flank watch. And I mean, normally, you know, now with Ashe, you know, I know the way PB loves to use Ashe is kind of as that flank watch fill-in, but you're just not going to have Vladder on flank watch. Like, I'm sorry, like if you have Vladder on flank watch, you are simply trolling. So I would imagine it's rethinking. And there we go. There's the first boost already coming through, and Vladder is just going to start to take the control over towards short, and he's just peeking right through. He's just looking to walk right into the site. He'll find the first kill onto Scams. Vladder quick and early in. That's the first pick on the smoke. He's looking for more, still boosted, aided by this Finca. Rethinking gets another one on to Lovely. They don't know about the position inside of main lobby, though. Silent gets the head of one, but it's too late. Rethinking is still going to grab him. It's still a man advantage here for Aqualyx, 3 versus 2. I believe that was the last stim from Rethinking now out, but Diffuser has been dropped. And one thing going for Waverunners is that, once again, they'll be able to even up that man count, and they have tentative control of that diffuser. It hasn't been picked up just yet, but Niccolo... Oh, never mind, it was picked up. I didn't even see that. I didn't notice. That's my apologies. Rethinking is actually just going to go ahead and just try and plant in the site. Niccolo is low HP. There's nothing they can do about it. It's a post plant. All Rethinking and Vladder have to do is hold these angles and cut off the defenders on their retake.
Yeah, Ven will be pushing here from the library stairs, but Vladder is just holding this angle, waiting for the Frost to peak. There's the kill, and now it is all up to Niccolo. With an SMG-11 in hand and only about 15 HP to speak of, this one is going to be a very difficult task, especially when all Rethinking has to do is just, again, hold left click, spray and pray, and one bullet is bound to finish off that last remaining Waverunners player, but in fact it is Vladder on the Ashe with the G36C in hand to do the work instead. So quite an interesting 2 rounds here for Aqualyx. This time we saw that they were fully invested into that Finca rush strategy, but it wasn't a full team rush. It was a Vladder rush. Finca, Rethinking, just tapped the thumb button on her little Finca boost stim button thing, and there goes Vladder, just into the site, gets a kill. Nobody's there to play the trade, although I know Waverunners were close by and had a chance at it, and that's 2 rounds are going to go Aqualyx's way here. And the Finca pick, although we've been starting to see the legitimacy of that pick, I'm a little bit worried. Now that I know, Harrison, you've seen this as well, and I suspect you're probably speechless. We have the Nook in play as well.
We have a Finca and a Nook on the board at the same time. Are we sure we're not like...
Yeah.
This isn't like a go for? Okay. Also, I want to point out, Jonah, you may not have been around in I don't know. Have you casted Bladder and Gasher before?
Attackers are heading
I
out.
think we did another Waverunner game, but other than that, no.
Yeah, okay. So Gasher and Vladder. Other than they haven't done it in CL, but what we just saw Vladder do, that's what we call pulling a Vladder. It's when the rest of his team will completely drone out a straight path to
Attackers have
site,
located a bomb.
and Vladder will run in and get a pick.
Wow.
And it works almost every time, because what they do is the way they set up their drones is that it will completely clear like that little that straight path to site, and they'll say, okay, Vladder, it's clear, and then Vladder just runs in. Now,
Dude.
okay, Kento has found 2 kills. Discover's finally refragged, but you gotta worry about this drone hole. Gasher, who currently has a suppressed FMG-9 and a suppressed Deagle, will light up the feet of Vena to take him out. And it's Silent and Scams in a 2 versus 4, having to retake into the site. Full top floor control for Aqualix. Still a player on the window. Kento still controlling the hatch. He'll find his third onto Scams. It's just Silent in a 1v4. What the hell happened?
Silent now staring down the final player. And missing a couple of pretty winnable shots, and then a quickly 180 headshot, 1-tap, just getting it done. Obviously not a 1-tap, but I just had to add that bit in there. The disrespect is the point. Aqualyx fully disrespecting their opponents, and the Waverunners are going to take a timeout here, because that is the only way they can possibly not only recover any semblance of hope in that round, but, you know, recover the mental game, because, wow. You lose to a Nook with, you know, the Silence FMG, the Silent Deagle. Not the best look for a defensive team here on Chalet. Just gotta put that out there.
Especially too. Kento just stood there and was given 2 heads, almost on a silver platter. There was the Frost, who, despite the window being open, just kind of stood there making holes in the floor. And then the Aruni was like, my teammate died.
Oh no.
I gotta get the refrag. And then just kind of walked at the window. Good 4K for Tyler Kento last name. But Waverunners so far, through the first couple rounds, I don't really know what to say. I mean, round 1, they looked really good, right? They got 3 kills in a row. And it was like, wow, they're going to take it to Aqualix. And then Kento and Vladder just kind of 2v5'd because they were able to find the 1v1s and isolate those gunfights. And that was huge from them. Then round 2, Vladder, well, pulled a Vladder into sight. And those retaking players just couldn't grab a foothold. And this round was just Waverunners giving up kills. So, you know, we're going back to Master. This is where the 2v5 was. So if Waverunners can repeat that early round success and then not allow the clutch, you know, play a little bit more back, don't get over aggressive, hunting those kills down, play more together, then we could possibly see their best chance for a round win.
I do like some of these adjustments here. Obviously, Waverunner taking that time out, not only recovering the mental, but also figuring out how they need to deal with this, we'll call it, quote-unquote, strategy that Aqualyx are bringing to Chalet here. They're bringing out the Frost. That's an adjustment I really like to see. They're going to bring out the Aruni gates as well. Making sure to put those in key locations will help communicate to the defense when somebody from Aqualyx is making that push. Whether that is in the form of a burn, they're going to take the time to burn that gate out, or if they're just going to run on through it. You should hear the gate get burned, you should hear the scream of the operator, so you know what you're dealing with and when. Same thing goes for the frost mats, of course. You'll put those in some key places and hope that maybe you can catch a couple of these over-eager and over-aggressive attackers. that Aqualyx have. That's the kind of style they've been showing here. It looks like, was that a wasted toxic smoke from Scams?
Yeah, it
onto
hit the Aruni gate.
Yeah, onto the Aruni gate. So not the best start here from Waverunners, but a quick response is had now that Scams picks up a kill onto Kento. Silent gets another right after Vladder was able to just jump on in and get lovely. Nicolo and Gasher go 1-for-1, and this is an essentially 2v2 now that Scams has been dropped into the DBNO state, and Vena and Nicolo now have to hold down the defense. Rethinking will claim that kill, so it is now actually a 2 versus 2. But with 1:20 left on the clock, this is yet another round that is just all unfolding before really anything productive gets done. We're just seeing these teams take and force these engagements. And right now, at least in round number 4, neither of these teams is coming out on top. Just kidding. Now it's Waverunner as Nicolo lines up Rethinking and Discover caught in the crossfire, not sure where to look. And it is Nicolo to pull things out and give Waverunners their first successful defensive round.
All right, Waverunners holding on firm as Aqualix get a little bit too ahead of themselves, I have to say. Kento just kind of jumping into the bathroom window with no other control established by his team. He gets fried by Scams. Vladder comes in for the refrag, but Silent is just around the corner to trade him out. And Aqualix, sure, they're in the building, they're in the site, but it's a 2 versus 2. Rethinking and Discover, unfortunately, do not play together. They are on opposite sides of the bomb site. They have no info on where Nicolo and Vena are playing. And that's that. That was, I think, Aqualix getting overzealous, maybe even overconfident. So hopefully, if that was the case, they've kind of sat themselves back down and reeled themselves back, and now say, okay, let's not get like that again. We're gonna go back to bar. This is where we saw Vladder, do his thing, and we've got the Nook yet again. We didn't really see the Nook do Nook things. She didn't really do Nook things. She did the same thing any other operator could have done, and that was just watching the trophy drone pull. So I'm hoping we see Gasher actually enter the building and do some sneaky play.
Well, if you're Aqualix, maybe you're thinking, we won 3 rounds in a row. One of those had a Nook in it. They didn't win a round for the first time. Probably because they forgot to bring the Nook. I think that's Gasher's thought process here, and you gotta love it. You gotta go with that. Gasher hoping that the silenced FMG9 is the recipe for success that this team needs, but a nade is that's gonna be right onto the face of Lovely, perfectly placed and saying goodbye to one of those players in Library. 2 more will fall as Aqualix now tear apart this defense, and Vena and Nicolo, I mean, it's them. Again, the last 2 players standing. 50 seconds. 50 seconds. 5-0 is all that has passed in this round. And already 3 players are dead. Already the plant's going down. Discover the Hibana going to be going for that plant while Vena is now the last player standing. C4 comes out and it will connect, but it does not matter. Vladder will now run onto the site. Another Finka boost to assist it. And Aqualix will claim yet another attack.
And another rush onto bar. Aqualix. So Waverunners took their time out. They spoke with their brand new coach of pin rolls. I don't know if their analyst Cherish is there. He's probably just off doing whatever. And then they took Master, and it was like, yeah, we were ready for the aggression. We talked with our coach. We got a good round. And then they forgot about the aggression or something. And Aqualix just bulldozed them. I mean, they didn't show any sign of stopping. They just walked on through, and Waverunners folded like a wet paper towel.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Get
from
it?
being
Because
defused by attackers.
Because Waverunners and Aqualix, they're water themed.
Nice, that's nice.
Haha.
Nice.
Aqualix, I mean, so far their attacks have just been like a rising tide, and Waverunners have been wiping out. Get it? Because they're water. They're water.
Here's something I want to know, Harrison. It's not.
What's up?
It's not a water pun.
All right.
But
Sad now.
is it still called trolling if you're winning rounds?
10 seconds left before insertion.
See, that is a very played out debate where it's kind of like, you can troll,
Attackers
right?
are moving to defuse the bomb.
But you can win rounds while trolling. But if you're winning, does it actually count as troll?
That's the question.
I don't know. It's kind of like when people say, like, you may think it's a dumb play, but if it works, it's not dumb. So I guess if you're trolling, but you're winning rounds, I guess you're not really trolling.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Sternab who tweeted this the other day, and it was like, if you're a caster and you say someone is trolling because you haven't seen that operator before, you're silly. You know, get better at your job, right? And I read that tweet and I said, you know, okay, that makes sense. I like what you're saying. I brought that mentality here to this one where we've seen Finka every single time and Nook every other round.
Located by attackers.
And part of me is like, okay, I gotta let my inner Sternab voice come out and say, hey, they're not trolling. This is just, it's just better. They're just better. And
Dude, Discover's 0-5
it's hard.
and they're up 4-1.
It is hard to reach that point here. But let's focus on the round at hand here. It's round number 6. Here comes Kento walking right on into Piano, uncontested, and with a Finka boost to assist. And that will be the opening pick, once again, going in the favor of Aqualyx here. Now, that kill comes actually later in the round than any other kill has come in any round prior. I think that was at about a minute 15 in, where most rounds have seen action within the minute, especially that last round. We'll see how Aqualyx can continue this pressure, but losing Gasher certainly isn't going to help. Vladder and Kento will pick up 2 between them, and now with this plant going down and an excellent flick from Vladder right onto Silent, that's going to leave Lovely alone to retake, and a couple of shots that really need to connect will not, and it is in fact the Finka to get that final kill, and Aqualyx come out very successful at the half, a 5-1 attacking lead. Wow.
Aqualyx are just indomitable right now. So indomitable, in fact, they're going to go to one of the worst bomb sites in the game in competitive. They're going to go to Wine Cellar and Garage. If there's one highlight that I want to take away from the attack, it's not the incredible fragging ability of Kento or Vladder. It's not the clutch ability that Aqualyx had in their couple rounds. It's not the intel gathering. It's the way they've been using the Finka.
Defenders,
It's been
protect your
really
bombs from being
cool.
defused by
It's like the way
attackers.
APAC or LATAM uses the Finka, or how DZ was using the Finka. It's not for the roam clear. It's not to heal. It's once they establish the initial control, or once they're able to isolate a gunfight, they Finka boost. That gives your players more survivability, no recoil, so they don't need to worry about pulling down or anything. They can just pre-fire around corners. And it makes it so that every single fight Aqualyx are going into, they at the very least have more survivability, and that gives them the advantage. Then once they establish the control, you can see, as soon as the execute starts, someone calls, okay, we're in.
5 seconds remaining.
Bam, boost. And they just bulldoze the players on site.
Attackers
And the way they were
protect
using the
located
Finka
bombs.
was masterful. You can tell that has been practiced. That has been meticulously dry run and scrimmed. And I gotta hand it to Aqualyx for bringing out something that was different, interesting, and still worked.
Yeah, I will 100% agree with you on that, Harrison. I think it is good to see that kind of innovation come into a game like this, right? Even though there are some questionable things this map has had for us, you can see elements of really put together strategy and a lot of work going into some of these picks here. Now on the defensive side, this is a relatively normal lineup. You've got the Pulse in play, which is very important for a tough bomb site like this that depends heavily on that vertical control. Only have, 2 C4s to work with, so that is a sizable amount of explosive utility to assist in that heartbeat sensor and help actually using that gadget appropriately. But it really won't help you take or maintain map control, rather. Instead, Aqualyx aren't going to bother except for one player on this top floor. That's Kento? Yeah, that's going to be Kento holding down the bathroom here, just creeping around and hoping that this solo roam will pay off, and lo and behold, it will. Finding one,
Wait,
but
what?
missing the second. Scams winning on that gunfight as the rappel came through. Although Scam survives that, he won't survive the C4 that Rethinkin has right at his feet. And as Nicolo says goodbye in this round as well, it is once again Aqualyx with a pretty sizable man advantage. Lovely and Venom. Last player standing, and Rethinkin claims one more. It is all going to be up to Lovely, who's yet to find a kill, in fact, in this map, but has found a couple assists and is looking to add to that tally as they walk on down through the big garage and head towards the site.
Oh, they know. You can see the Pulse staring at him straight through the wall. He'll get spotted out by the Lion scan, but it might not matter. There we go. Lovely finally picks up the kill on a Rethinking for his first in the map, but will it be impactless? He's got 3 more to find, and he will get heavily tagged up by the player holding the angle by the barrels. 49 seconds left. They're just going to start running at him, and it's Discover with a C4 to finally, I think Discover just picked up his first kill as well. Beautiful stuff from Aqualix, but not to take away from Aqualyx's success, I really have to pin that round loss more on Waverunners. And the fact that, I mean, their intel game was not great. Several times we saw a player on Waverunners get caught out by someone that they just did not know was there. There was, for example, in the beginning, they had no idea. They spotted Kento earlier in Piano and still swung in with no one covering the owl door. Then, later in the round, we saw, I think it was Vena, shooting the Cam West main, even though Rethinking was just smack in the middle of the room, hiding behind a table. And we saw at the very end, Lionhead still didn't know Rethinking was there until he got spotted by the Lion scan. Aqualyx have just been doing everything right, and I hate to say it, but it doesn't seem like Waverunners have a chance. Like, for everything Aqualyx does right, it seems like it's not being done by Waverunners.
10 seconds left.
Oh, man.
5 seconds remaining.
I want Waverunners to bring this one back. I do. I mean, I think,
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
like, there are so many moments where they should be able to exploit what they know Aqualyx are going to do, right? I mean, this is round 8, and 7 rounds of this game have been Aqualyx extremely aggressive.
Yeah,
I
almost
wouldn't call
rushing.
it predictable. It's not super predictable because, you know, it starts off a little bit weird, but at this point, Waverunners have got to understand what they're dealing with and how to counter it, right? Play to that. Force that advantage if you can, knowing that Aqualyx are going to swing everything. They're going to have solo roamers around every corner. Tighten up your drone work. They're going to have people swinging you on the site when it makes no sense for them to be swinging. Tighten up your flank watch. Have somebody checking your angle at all times. I know they can bring this one back. It just comes down to getting a hold of what exactly it is Aqualyx are doing here. We can see Silent trying to identify a couple of players here. One, in fact, that's going to be Rethinking down in the kitchen. Nicolo here to assist that position. They've got the pings and they've got the opening frag. So a good start. Lovely taking down Discover, but quickly Vladder and Gasher will respond, removing Silent and Nicolo from play.
Yeah, I think, you know, like CJ's critical point said, we definitely have Lay Gasher in this matchup. It's 4 versus 3, make it a 4 versus 2, as Lay Gasher himself will find a double on the round. Lovely hopping down towards Trench does find Vladder, maybe playing a little bit overly aggressive, but still a 1-man advantage for Aqualyx, and the diffuser has been forfeited upstairs and currently resides in the clutches of Gasher. Rethinking is still downstairs, scanning with his heartbeat scanner. He knows Vena is still here, but does he know Lovely is trying to pinch him out? Coming over towards Short, it looks like Rethinking is aware he'll now hold on to the doorway, just waiting for Lovely to make his way in. But here's a Rotero drone coming through. This is likely just for info to call anything out for Lovely. He'll spot Rethinking inside of the kitchen, and Rethinking will have to reposition. Here comes a Lion scan as well, but still Lovely loses the fight. That leaves Vena alone. Preemptive GGs from Vladder coming in through the chat as well, as Vena only has 40 seconds to play with, 3 full HP players to find, and even if he can take site control, Rethinking and Gasher both have C4s. There is almost no way Vena's going to be able to get this plant down. He has to go for picks, but he's doing it slowly. 25 seconds remaining. Even if he gets the first 2, there's still one lurking downstairs. There's one off to his right, and he can't even find Kento. Aqualyx, incredible work on Chalet, shutting down Waverunners at every single